All right, guys, so today, continuing on our exponents and powers chapter, we're going to talk about something called square roots and cube roots. Okay, so if you haven't done so, grab a piece of paper. All right, put your name on it, date, period, assignment number. Of course, we do have actually quite a few vocab words today, so make sure that you have your binder open. Green on the left, notes on the right. I am pretty impressed. There's a few of us who were waiting for me, and they're actually filling in their vocab pages right now. That's awesome. They're working ahead a little bit and doing it the right way. I'm pretty impressed. For the rest of you guys, green on the left, notes on the right. Okay, here we go. With our vocab words, we have like a half a dozen of them here almost, so might be five or six. So here we go. Square roots and something called cube roots. All right, so here we go. The very first thing I want to talk about is a square root. Everyone?
Square root.
All right, so here's what a square root is. It's one of the two equal factors of a number. It says the square root of 25 is 5 since 5 squared equals 25. So in your little box, go ahead and write this. It's the opposite of squaring a number, or to the second power. It's like the inverse. 5 squared is 25. So you would say the square root of 25 is 5. Okay, our next word. Okay, you have just the overall basic idea of square root. The next word or phrase is something called a perfect square. Everyone?
Perfect square.
All right, so in the context of what we're talking about, here's what a perfect square is. It's a rational number whose square root is a whole number. So, for example, 25 is a perfect square because square root of 25, and you will see square root look more like this. It's almost like it kind of almost looks like a division sign with a little tail up front. The square root of 25 is exactly 5. So because it has a nice answer of just an integer as an answer, that's what they call a perfect square. Okay, it gives a perfect answer for a square root. Okay, here's the next one. Radical sign, everyone.
Radical sign.
The symbol, and it was what we were just talking about. The symbol that looks like this, used to indicate a non-negative square root. We'll talk more about that during our lesson. So the symbol that looks like this, used to indicate a non-negative square root. And in little box over the side, this is a radical sign. Okay, so we've talked about a square root. We've talked, we probably could have started with a radical sign, but a radical sign is used usually whenever you're dealing with square roots. Okay, if it comes out with a perfect answer, it's called a perfect square. Okay, however, there is something also called a cube root. So cube root, everyone?
Cube root.
So here's what the book says a cube root is. It's one of 3 equal factors of a number. So the cube root of 8 is 2. Since 2 cubed, meaning 2 to the third power, is 8. Okay, a cube root, you could just think of it as opposite of cubing a number, or better yet, of going to the third power. All right, and our last one is a perfect cube. Everyone?
Perfect cube.
And this is a lot like a perfect square. It's a number that is the cube of an integer. Just says 1, 8, and 27 are all examples of perfect cubes. So it gives a perfect answer for a cube root. All right. So, here we go. Let's go ahead and grab our books and go to page 172. Hopefully you already have your paper out. So page 172. All right, thank you. Those of you that are ready to go. All right, here's what I want you guys to do. All right, problem number 18 is part of your homework, but this is one of those problems I just want you to watch me. We're gonna do one together in just a second, but I want you to watch me on number 18 first. Okay, number 18 is written like this. They want to know there's a radical sign. What is the square root of 169? Now, I know that I left a little bit out, so hold off for a second. Okay. Now, here's the thing. I want to know, when I see this, here's what I'm thinking. What number squared will give me 169? Well, I know 10 times 10 is 100. 11 times 11 is 121. 12 times 12, I always remember 12 times 12 because on some of the multiplication charts, that one number that's always over to the bottom right when I was in elementary school, and that was 144. This is a little bit bigger. Anyone know what this is? 13. 13 times 13. 13 squared is 169. Now, here's the funny thing about this, okay, is that I can say 13 times 13 is 169, but that's not our only answer. You say, well, Mr. Wilkins, what do you mean? Well, now that we're 7th graders, what's negative 13 times negative 13? It's also 169. You see that? So it actually, on a lot of these, it could be either one. Now, with this particular case and how they want us to introduce it to you is this. They're going to tell you if they want the positive square root or the negative part of the square root. And that's what that little negative sign is. So they say, okay, well, what is the square root of what's a negative version of the square root of 169? So it is 13, but it's not 13, it's negative 13, and that's my answer to that. Okay. Okay. So, see some of you guys already doing it. Go ahead and just copy that down. When you copy it down, though, I want you to copy this down too. Just something to refer to. It won't take you an extra 5 seconds. Copy that down where you just understand what we're looking at here. And this is kind of just what I had in my brain. This is my thought process. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at 16. On number 16, I'm going to go up here on the corner. Number 16 says this. They're asking us to find the square root of 36. As a matter of fact, when it's kind of like integers, like when you're in elementary school, when you count it, you don't go, oh, let me count to 10, positive 1, positive 2, positive 3, right? If you don't say the word positive or sign, the little positive sign's on there, it's implying it's positive. Same thing can pretty much be said of this. They just want us to find what is the positive square root of 36. Okay? So, here's what step 1 is. And here's what I want you to do. I'm going to draw a little bubble, not because it's a bubble, because that's a brain. All right, this is just mental math. All right, just for notes purposes. When you think about this in your brain, you need to do exactly what we were talking about, right? You need to think what, it's all about square root. So what number, which number squared is going to be equal to 36? Yeah, so it is 6, right? So, of course, step 2 is give your answer, which is 6. Okay, now, it is 6, but be very careful, all right? Because we'll call this step 3 is, and just make sure you're having the positives or negatives there if needed, okay? It is a positive 6, that's what we were trying to find, so just be careful of that. Don't leave that off, just like any other time you're dealing with negative integers, okay? And that's your answer, guys, that's it. That's a pretty simple one, right? But that's kind of what you're thinking. Step 1 is just a little bit of mental math. Okay? Now, step 1, I guess we could put a star by it, because if this is really big, then you're probably going to have to do some multiplication. Okay? But otherwise, on something like this that's small, that's mental math. All right, questions about that? All right, actually that was the one I wanted you guys to do. So let me give you a different one. I must have messed up here. I either left one out or I just didn't fix that. Do this one right here. Ready? I'm going to make one up. Won't take very long. All right. I want you to do what is the square root? Or let's do this problem right here. Go ahead and answer that problem there. All right, 30 seconds, go. Okay, anyone need more time on that? Okay, go ahead and turn to your neighbor and share. Go. All right, here we go. All right, just an answer. I'm looking for just an answer. That student is not here today. All right, C24. Negative 11. All right. Agree, disagree. Negative 11. Okay. Negative 11. Well, let's check it out. We have, they're asking for a negative, right? Square root. So, yeah, you're asking yourself, well, what squared is 121? Well, 121, it's 11 times 11. So that means that, of course, yes, 11. Don't forget your negative, negative 11. All right. All right, so questions on that one. Okay, here's what I want to show you guys. Take a look really quickly at problem number 20. Here's what that's asking for. First of all, do you see these right here? That is asking for the positive and negative answer to this square root.
So do you put like a positive answer?
So you have two ways that you can do it. You can either give both answers, or you can just put the positive negative sign in front of your answer. I'm okay with either one. Looking just like this. Okay? So for example, if I had something like, since this was a part of a vocab, what is the positive and negative square root of 25? You could answer like this. Oh, I know that one. It is positive 5 and negative 5. Or you could answer like this. Oh, it's positive or negative 5. Either one of those would work. It's saying the same thing. However, that's not the main reason why I wanted to talk about number 20. Take a look at what's inside the radical sign. A negative. Is there any number when you multiply it with itself, right? That's what a square is, that gives you a negative answer.
No, negative.
If both of your factors are positive, a positive 5 times a positive 5, what are you going to get?
25.
A positive 25. What if both of your factors are negative? A negative 5 times a negative 5. What do you get?
Positive 25.
Either way, you get a positive. When you have a negative, when they're asking you to find the square root of a negative, here's your answer. There is no solution. There's no solution. To be honest with you, okay, let's be no real solution. Okay, as you get older, you'll talk more about that. There's no real solution. Okay, questions on that one?
Wait, so it says a positive or a negative. Does that mean since you can't do it, or when it's a negative, can you do it? You still have to when it's positive.
I'm talking about these out here.
Yeah.
Well, on a problem like this, you can, but the reason why this has no real solution because there's nothing that gives us negative 25. But if there is no negative on the inside of the radical sign, then you would answer it like this or like this. Okay, so yeah, I kind of try to combine explaining what that means and what happens with this all in one shot. That's why I wanted to take a look at 20. Plus, it's part of your homework. Okay, other questions, guys? Okay, here we go. Let's go ahead. Let's take a look at problem 26. Let's do 26 together. Okay, problem 26 says this. Give the positive or negative, or positive and negative, square root of 78. I'm going to use black here. They stand out a little bit better against the red. Okay, here we go. The directions say estimate each square root to the nearest integer. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time we're seeing something that is not a perfect square. We don't have a perfect answer because no number times itself, at least as an integer, is 78. So here's what you do instead. Step 1, find your perfect squares, or we could even put a little twist on it and say perfect square roots. So meaning I'm thinking 9 times 9. This is a square root of 78. What is 9 times 9?
81.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put positive, negative, okay, more positive if I'm drawing this. Square root of 81. What's 8 times 8? Square root of 64. So what you're going to do is you're going to put down, so for step 1, you're thinking of your two perfect squares on both sides. Square or square root of 81, square root of 64. Those are your perfect squares. Step 2. Which one is it closest to? Because we're estimating. Which one's it? Is 78 closer to 81 or 78 closer to 64?
81.
So step 3, we already said it. Square root of 81 is what? But don't forget, of course, I'll put a little star here. Don't forget, it's a positive or negative 9. It's probably something like 8.7 or 8.8, looking at where it is between those two. But it's wanting us to estimate, just find out which ones it's closest to. Okay, questions on that? 30 seconds. Go ahead and try out problem 24. Go. Okay, guys, turn to your neighbor and share. Go. All right, here we go. Here's what you should have had. So, what I'm going to do, it makes it a little easier just to ignore the negative for right now. I'm going to go ahead and see, okay, well, what's around square root of 102? Well, first of all, square root of 100, right? 10 times 10. 11 times 11 is 121. This is obviously closer to that. So, they want the negative square root on this. Negative 10. Okay? Questions on that? Yes, I do want you to put both perfect square roots around it. That is required tonight. This is your work. It's not a lot of work on these problems, but it is what I want you to do. So make sure you do those. I found over the years that most students will catch any little mental mistakes they might make if they put just the two perfect square roots around. Okay? All right, let's take a look at really quickly at number 30 on page 172. Here's what we have. Cube root of negative 2,744. No solution, right? It's a negative inside?
Yep.
No real solution? No, that's wrong. You can have a negative cubed root. Why? Well, because, think about it. What is negative 2 times negative 2? Oops, negative 2 times negative 2.
Wait, negative 2 times negative 8?
Cube root of negative 8 is negative 2. Because you have three numbers, so once you see a cube root of a negative, the first thing you know is that your answer is going to be a negative. Okay? So here we go. All right. So, step one is think about what number cubed is going to be equal to 2,744. I tell you what, let's use our trusty calculator. So, what is 10 times 10 times 10?
1,000.
We know it's bigger than that, right? What is 12 times 12 times 12?
1,728.
Okay. So we're guessing and checking. 14 times 14 times 14 times 14 times 14. 2,744. 14. So here we go. Step 2. Have your answer. Step 3. Don't forget your sign if you have it. And this one definitely is a negative. Negative 14. Okay. Questions on cube roots. It's just that it's a little more challenging because you have that one extra factor, repetitive factor. The what? The way I just did it. I'm not going to go into detail because everyone has different calculators. So the way I just did it, do a little guessing and checking. You guys don't have too many of them. All right, here we go. I want you guys to try out 32. Go. All right, 30 seconds. Turn to your neighbor. Go. All right, here we go. Let's finish this one up, and I'm going to show you one more. Okay? So, we have what is the cube roots. They have a little 3, right, in front of the radical sign, of 1,331. I actually remember this earlier, or getting pretty close to it. 11 times 11 times 11, and there it is. So, 11 cubed. So we have 11. Positive or negative? It is positive. There is one more. Here we go. Number 34. Cube root of 576. It's asking, ladies and gentlemen, for the estimate. Okay, listen, it says don't use a calculator. Use a calculator. All right? But listen, step 1 is find your perfect cube roots, just like we did before with square roots. All right? All right, you guys can go ahead and go.